The screen glowed in the dim light, a single message blinking relentlessly. He thought it was just another ordinary day, coffee, emails, routine, but the notification made his heart stop. His hands trembled as he opened it. One line changed everything. In that instant, the world he knew shattered, and he realized life could flip in a heartbeat. It was a morning like any other. Sunlight streamed lazily through the blinds, casting stripes across the kitchen counter. He sipped his coffee, scrolling through his phone absent-mindedly, thinking about work and errands. The world felt predictable, safe, and ordinary, until that message appeared. The small vibration made his heart stutter, a subtle warning he didn't understand yet. With shaking fingers, he opened it. The words on the screen were brief, yet heavy with consequences. They demanded his immediate attention. Confusion mingled with unease, and a cold shiver ran down his spine. Thoughts raced, each one faster and darker than the last. What did this mean? Why now? He could feel his morning coffee turning bitter as he tried to steady his trembling hands. Every second felt magnified, stretched unnaturally, as if the universe had paused, waiting for his next move. He leaned against the counter, staring at the screen, his mind a whirlwind of panic, disbelief, and fear. Every ordinary sound, the humming fridge, the distant traffic, suddenly felt foreign, insignificant. Something profound, something irreversible, had entered his day. He realized that routine was fragile, that life could pivot in a single moment, and that today was no longer ordinary. He reread the message, each word sinking deeper like a stone into his chest. The clarity of its meaning struck him suddenly, making his stomach lurch. It wasn't a prank, a mistake, or spam. It was real, urgent, and terrifying. His mind raced back through memories, moments, choices, and regrets, searching for clues. The tiny decisions, the casual jokes, the unspoken words, everything seemed connected now. A weight pressed against his chest as realization dawned. Some things could never be undone. His usual composure dissolved into panic and disbelief. He tried calling the sender, fingers shaking on the keypad, but the line went straight to voicemail. Every ring of the tone felt like a countdown. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the world outside carried on, oblivious to the storm inside his head. He remembered the people he had brushed off, the kindnesses he had ignored, the love he had failed to express. Guilt mingled with fear, forming a knot so tight he could barely breathe. He sank into the nearest chair, clutching the phone like a lifeline, praying for answers while feeling powerless to change what had been set in motion. Time seemed both suspended and merciless. The hours blurred. Each ring, each notification on his phone, made his heart jump with hope or dread. He replayed recent conversations, recalling words spoken carelessly, moments ignored, opportunities missed. He thought of friends, family, strangers whose lives intersected briefly with his. Could he have done something differently? Could he have prevented the coming heartbreak? Doubt gnawed at him, and he felt a weight pressing down on his chest heavier than he had ever known. Memories of laughter, shared meals, hugs left unspoken, all flashed before him. He wished he could rewind time, undo mistakes, and rewrite his story, if only for a day. The sunlight in the kitchen now felt harsh and indifferent, mocking his inner turmoil. He paced, muttering fragments of questions to himself, each one swallowed by the quiet of the morning. The message on his phone remained, blinking like a relentless heartbeat. He realized that life could pivot on a single, unexpected moment, and that the ordinary could transform into the extraordinary, the mundane into the unforgettable, and the comfortable into something unbearable. Fear and anticipation intertwined, creating a storm he had no shelter from. He remembered a recent argument with someone dear, words spoken in haste, pride interposing between apologies and reconciliation. That memory now felt heavier, sharper. Every unspoken "I love you," every gesture postponed, every fleeting chance ignored seemed to demand reckoning. He sank to the floor, foam clutched like a lifeline, and whispered regrets into the empty room. His eyes flickered to the calendar, to mundane reminders of bills and work tasks, which now seemed absurd and irrelevant. The world was unchanged outside, but inside, it had shifted irrevocably. He realized that life often handed lessons too late, opportunities that came only once. He couldn't undo the past, couldn't change yesterday, but the message was demanding action today. It forced him to confront emotions he had buried, to make choices he had postponed. Fear, grief, guilt, and love collided in a single pulse. He closed his eyes, trying to summon courage, praying for clarity, and bracing for the consequences that awaited him. Every heartbeat seemed magnified, each second stretching into eternity. By afternoon, the weight of anticipation became unbearable. He found himself wandering aimlessly, phone in hand, rereading the message, trying to parse the tone, the intention, the urgency. Everything in his life that had felt ordinary, the office, the coffee, the small talk, was now irrelevant. He thought of people he loved, people he had hurt, moments he wished to relive. The message had opened a door to reflection he had never expected to face, confronting him with both fear and hope. Could he make amends? Could he act before it was too late? Doubt and determination waged war inside him. Every small decision now felt monumental. He realized the fragility of time, the importance of love, and the fleeting nature of life. The message, simple in appearance, had become a mirror to his soul, reflecting regrets, desires, and the truths he could no longer ignore. And somewhere in the turmoil, he understood that the choices he made next could define everything he held dear. Evening arrived, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, but he felt none of the calm it promised. Every passing minute made the message weigh heavier, each word echoing relentlessly in his mind. He paced the room, phone clutched tightly, trying to predict the next step, trying to prepare for what might come. Memories flooded him, moments of carelessness, pride, and indifference. He had laughed off warnings, postponed conversations, and ignored gestures that now seemed urgent. A deep ache settled in his chest, the kind that no coffee or distraction could soothe. He knew he could not turn back time, but he could act now. The message demanded courage, and he realized he had been afraid of confrontation, of vulnerability, of showing love fully. With a shaky breath, he whispered promises to himself. He would not run from this moment. Whatever came next, he would face it with honesty, with openness, and with the vulnerability he had long denied. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the floor, yet the storm inside him burned brighter than the fading light. He finally dialed the number listed in the message, each ring stretching seconds into eternities. His hands shook, voice trembling as he spoke, unsure if he would hear relief, anger, or silence. When the line connected, it felt as if the world paused. The other voice was calm but laced with urgency, almost like a guide through the chaos. He listened intently, nodding, heart racing, absorbing each detail. The message was more than news. It was a call to action, a chance to right wrongs, to be present, to embrace love fully before time ran out. He thought of people he had taken for granted, of apologies left unsaid, of hugs never given. Each reflection stung and strengthened him simultaneously. By the time the conversation ended, he had a plan, a purpose, a mission to act. The ordinary day he had expected had transformed into something monumental, a test of courage, empathy, and devotion. He realized that sometimes life gave us wake-up calls, moments that demanded presence and honesty, and today had become that moment for him. The night settled in, stars flickering faintly through the window. He sat quietly, phone beside him, reflecting on the chain of events that had led to this moment. His mind traveled through memories, family dinners, childhood laughter, the gentle words of love he had ignored, the small sacrifices others had made for him. Every recollection was magnified now. Each interaction weighted with meaning. He understood. more acutely than ever, that life was fragile, unpredictable, and mercilessly short. Tears welled in his eyes as he recognized opportunities he had let slip, kindnesses he had taken for granted, and the love he had sometimes failed to express. But the message had shifted everything. It had forced him to confront himself, to take responsibility for his emotions and actions. He could no longer hide behind routines or fear. This was a chance, a rare, urgent chance, to reconnect, to heal, to act with all the sincerity he had once withheld. Night deepened, but within him, a resolve burned bright, fueled by fear, hope, and the undeniable desire to make things right. Morning came again, bringing with it a strange sense of clarity. He moved methodically, planning his next steps, reviewing the words of the message, and ensuring he was ready. His heart pounded with anticipation and guilt, a mixture that made each action deliberate. He knew he had to face someone he had avoided, someone he had hurt in subtle and obvious ways. Courage was no longer optional. It was mandatory. He pictured the person waiting, the impact of his presence, the possibility of forgiveness, or at least understanding. Every scenario played out in his mind, but fear was tempered by determination. He whispered encouragement to himself, reminding his heart that love required action. When he finally walked toward the meeting point, each step felt heavier and yet lighter at once. He carried the weight of responsibility, but also the hope of redemption. The ordinary day he had expected now held immense significance, a reminder that life's pivotal moments often arrive unannounced, disguised in mundane routines, waiting for us to notice, to respond, and to embrace their lessons. When he arrived, the person from the message was there, eyes wary yet expectant. He hesitated, the words of the previous days swirling in his mind. How could he convey the weight of emotion, the regret, the longing for connection, in mere words? Yet the urgency of the message demanded sincerity, raw and unguarded. He spoke slowly, each sentence carrying layers of apology, love, and understanding. The person listened, expressions shifting, emotions flickering between surprise, hurt, and eventual relief. He realized that vulnerability, though terrifying, was the only path forward. Every unspoken truth he had buried now surfaced. Every suppressed feeling found expression. They talked for hours, reliving memories, confronting regrets, and embracing forgiveness. By the end, the tension had lifted slightly, replaced by fragile hope. The message, small in form yet immense in effect, had transformed an ordinary day into a journey of emotional reckoning. The lessons were clear. Love must be expressed, regrets confronted, and connections cherished before time slips away. After the emotional meeting, he walked home slowly, mind replaying every word, every expression. The message that had shaken him had now begun reshaping him. He realized how often life passed unnoticed, how many chances to love, apologize, or connect he had ignored. Each step was heavy with reflection, yet light with newfound purpose. He thought of friends and family, the moments he had taken for granted, the laughter he had dismissed, the small kindnesses he had overlooked. The city moved around him, oblivious to the storm of emotion within. He understood now that ordinary days could harbor extraordinary lessons if only one paid attention. He vowed silently that he would never let another day slip by unexpressed, unlived, or unloved. The message had woken him, shaken him, and forced him to confront truths he had avoided. And in that confrontation, he found clarity. Life demanded courage, presence, and love. Night fell, and he sat by the window, phone in hand, reviewing the message once more. Its simplicity belied the impact it had on his soul. Each word, each punctuation mark, had transformed routine into reckoning. He thought about missed opportunities, the times he had failed to speak, to act, to care. Regret mingled with hope, a bittersweet combination that left him both vulnerable and determined. He realized that life offered second chances, but only if one embraced them fully, with honesty and courage. His heart ached at the thought of people he had hurt unknowingly, yet it also swelled with the possibility of redemption. The message had opened a door, and he was walking through it, uncertain but committed. He whispered promises to himself, vowing to act, to reconnect, to express love before it was too late. And in the quiet of the night, he felt the stirrings of resolve stronger than fear. The following day brought action. He reached out to the people the message had indicated, each call a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. He spoke from the heart, apologizing, acknowledging mistakes, and expressing emotions long suppressed. Sometimes the responses were hesitant, sometimes tearful, but each conversation lifted a weight he had carried unknowingly. The world seemed to expand, to breathe, as connections reawakened. He felt gratitude for the chance to make amends, to offer kindness, and to reclaim love. Each interaction was a reminder that human lives intersect in complex ways, and that compassion required courage and initiative. The message had been a catalyst, a spark igniting a journey of emotional reckoning. By afternoon, his heart felt lighter, yet charged with the responsibility to maintain the sincerity he had discovered. He understood that healing was a process, and that every small step mattered. Evening came, casting long shadows across the streets. He sat quietly, reflecting on the lessons learned in the last 24 hours. Fear, regret, and anxiety had once dominated his thoughts, but they had been tempered by love, vulnerability, and human connection. He realized the message had done more than alert him. It had transformed him, revealing the value of presence, sincerity, and empathy. Memories of laughter, shared struggles, and fleeting kindnesses danced in his mind, each now carrying a weight of importance. He resolved to never overlook the ordinary moments, to cherish relationships, and to act with intention. The message had reminded him that life was unpredictable, fragile, and precious, and that waiting to express love or gratitude could lead to irreparable loss. He understood that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it with honesty and heart. By nightfall, he reflected on the extraordinary journey that one small message had catalyzed. It had turned an ordinary day into a profound reckoning, forcing him to confront truths about himself and those around him. He realized that love, connection, and empathy were not optional, they were essential. The message had been a mirror, reflecting both regrets and possibilities, mistakes and opportunities. He thought about how easily life could be taken for granted, how many small moments of kindness or communication were left unexpressed. But now he had awakened to the power of action, of vulnerability, of sincere connection. The ordinary had become sacred, each interaction a chance to heal, to forgive, and to embrace life fully. He knew the journey was only beginning, that every day forward would be measured by intention, courage, and compassion, and he felt ready, for the first time, to meet life head-on, heart open, soul honest. The morning light streamed through his window, gentle and warm, but inside him, a storm of reflection still raged. He had spent days unraveling emotions, confronting fears, and reaching out to those who mattered. Each conversation, each act of sincerity, had left him both exhausted and exhilarated, yet he felt a strange sense of calm settling in. The message that had seemed terrifying at first had become a guide, steering him toward clarity, love, and purpose. He realized that life's most profound moments often arrive disguised as ordinary ones until you paid attention. As he sipped his coffee, now tasting sweeter than usual, he promised himself that he would never take another day for granted. Every interaction would carry intention, every relationship care, and every emotion honesty. The message had transformed him into a man who understood the fragile beauty of human connections, and he vowed to live with that awareness from now on. By afternoon, he returned to the people who mattered most, armed with sincerity, humility, and open-heartedness. Each encounter deepened his understanding of love, forgiveness, and compassion. Tears were shed, Hugs exchanged, apologies offered, and acceptance received. He realized that the human spirit was remarkably resilient, capable of healing when approached with honesty and kindness. The ordinary routines of life, the phone calls, the coffee, the brief conversations, had transformed into vessels of redemption and connection. Every smile, every gentle word, became a reminder that love required action and presence. The message had forced him to confront himself and to embrace the vulnerability he had avoided. By evening, a sense of peace began to replace the anxiety and guilt that had weighed on him. He understood that second chances were precious and fragile, and that they demanded courage, empathy, and sincerity. Night settled, but the quiet was no longer heavy with fear. Instead, it carried a comforting weight of reflection and understanding. He sat by the window, phone aside, letting the events of the past days wash over him. Memories of past mistakes mingled with recent victories of communication, forgiveness, and reconnection. He marveled at how one small message had redirected the course of his life, awakening empathy, awareness, and love. He felt gratitude for the wake-up call, for the opportunity to act, and for the chance to mend relationships. Life's unpredictability had forced him to confront what truly mattered, stripping away trivial concerns and exposing the core of human experience: love, compassion, and connection. He whispered a quiet vow to continue living intentionally, to never ignore opportunities for kindness, and to treasure the fragile beauty of each day. The following morning, he awoke with renewed purpose. He moved through his home with a sense of reverence, noticing details he had overlooked for years: the warmth of sunlight on the floor, the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the distant laughter of neighbors. Everything felt alive, meaningful, and precious. He reached out again to loved ones, expressing gratitude, reaffirming bonds, and offering apologies where needed. Each interaction carried the weight of authenticity, a testament to the lessons the message had forced him to confront. He realized that ordinary days were never truly ordinary. They were opportunities to act, to love, and to grow. The message had been a mirror, reflecting his fears, regrets, and possibilities, ultimately teaching him that courage, compassion, and vulnerability could transform lives. By nightfall, he felt a profound peace, knowing that he had acted with honesty and heart, and that the future, though uncertain, would be approached with mindfulness and love. Days turned into weeks, and he carried the lessons of that fateful message into every moment. Life continued with its rhythms, yet nothing felt mundane again. Ordinary mornings were infused with gratitude. Conversations became opportunities for connection. Every interaction a chance to express love, kindness, and sincerity. The message, once a source of fear, had become a catalyst for transformation, reshaping his understanding of relationships, priorities, and the human heart. He realized that life's most meaningful experiences often arrived unexpectedly, challenging us to respond with courage and compassion. With a lighter heart and a mind sharpened by reflection, he embraced each day fully, aware that love, presence, and authenticity were treasures to be nurtured daily. Every heartbeat was now a reminder that second chances existed, and that the ordinary could become extraordinary when approached with intentionality and care. Life can change in an instant, teaching us the value of love, courage, and presence. Treasure every moment, speak your heart, and embrace second chances. If this story touched your heart, like the video, subscribe, and join our Heart Angels family.